After 10 years in prison, I'm unsure whether I should reach out to my ex-girlfriend or leave her in peace. What should I do? Sorry for any mistakes, English is not my first language. When I was a university student, I fell in love with Daria, not her real name, obviously. She was the little sister of my best friend, so I considered her off limits, but my crush on her persisted and grew. She's one of those beautiful, brilliant people who is alive and breathing to make the world a better place. How could I not be drawn to that? One day, she told me she had feelings for me. And to my relief, my best friend didn't have a problem with me dating his sister either. So for 2 wonderful years, Daria was my girlfriend. I should have asked her to marry me. I don't know why I didn't. I suppose I thought I had all the time in the world. We were young and there was no need to rush things. We lived in a country that isn't exactly democratic, and we were political activists. I ended up getting arrested and going to prison for 9 years. Please don't think I'm some kind of monster for this. I don't want to go into detail in case it makes me identifiable somehow, but we didn't hurt anyone or do anything immoral. What we did is not even illegal in the country where I currently live, and our beliefs were far from extremist. I haven't seen or spoken to Daria since the day I got arrested. My best friend died shortly after, and Daria left the country, partly due to the possibility that she'd be arrested too. There wasn't any way for her to contact me while I was in prison, though apparently she contacted my dad a few times in the beginning. Things got even worse in our country while I was incarcerated, so my dad and I emigrated when I was released. We've been living in Western Europe ever since, and life is pretty okay. I live with my dad, and I have a steady, if shitty, job. Months ago I found Daria online. She lives in a neighboring country, 7 hours away by rail. She doesn't use social media too much, but from what I've seen there's no evidence of a partner or kids. And even if she's married, I'd be content just to be her friend, as I was for the first years we knew each other. Part of me desperately wants to reach out to her, and my dad has been encouraging me to do so, but I feel like it'd be too selfish. The circumstances of her brother's death were very traumatic for her, and I'm afraid that I'm just a living reminder of all the bad things that happened to us. And if she does have a partner, would my contacting her offend him and trouble their relationship? I don't want to cause her any more sadness. Time stood still for me while I was in prison, but I know it didn't for her or anyone else. She's done so well for herself. She's built a whole life, and I don't want to derail that life just because I feel entitled to a place in it. She might not even remember me at all. And even if she did invite me back into her life, I'd be nothing but a burden now, owing to my wrecked mental health. We've been apart twice as long as I knew her. Have I even the right to miss her as much as I do? For now I've contented myself with Googling her name every so often and seeing that she's okay. It just hurts a lot, and I don't know how to make it not hurt. I still love her with everything I have. I probably always will. Should I reach out to her, or leave her alone? If I do contact her, what should I even say? TLDR, unsure whether I should contact my old girlfriend now that I'm free from prison. Update 1. The short version is that I was wondering whether I should try to contact my former girlfriend after I went to prison for a long time. The consensus was that I should, and people gave very good advice on how to do that. First, I want to say thank you to everyone who offered advice or kind words. I had spent so long feeling ashamed about my situation, and expecting most people to react very negatively if they knew. I had barely discussed it with anyone before, except my dad and people whose job it is to help me, lawyers, therapists, etc. And I was very surprised to be met with so much compassion from a bunch of complete strangers. Thank you, truly. Several people asked for an update, and that's the least I can do in return. I sent Daria a message the evening after I made my post. It was something like, I don't mean to intrude, but I wanted to say hello and thought I would give you my new contact information in case you ever felt like getting in touch. If not, that's completely fine too. I left her my mobile number and email address, wished her well, and that was that. I knew it might be a while before she responded, if she responded at all. So I tried to put it out of my mind. Early Monday morning, my phone rang. It was an unfamiliar number from the country where Daria lives. Who else would ever be calling me from there? I panicked a little bit, but I managed to answer in time. She asked a few times if it was really me, and I couldn't tell if she was laughing or crying. At first she called me by the very affectionate version of my name she used to. But then she quickly apologized and corrected herself, which broke my heart a little bit. It was an awkward phone call, but not in a bad way. I was extremely nervous, and it seemed like she was too. But happy also. Some of you mentioned that Daria would want to know that I was safe, and this was more true than I could have guessed. Because unrest in my country increased a lot during the last year I was in prison, She was afraid that they would decide to quietly kill me rather than let me go. There are documented cases of other prisoners like me having met very suspicious ends in the months before my release, so it wasn't a totally unreasonable worry. She also said she repeatedly tried to send me parcels of supplies and put money on my commissary account, but her attempts were rejected without explanation. After my sentencing, I was not allowed to receive correspondence or to have a commissary account at all, because of the classification of my crimes, so she was forced to give up. She told me this as an apology, as if I would have been disappointed with her for not helping me more. I had no idea she had done any of that. I do know that it was not a safe thing for her to do, and I feel terrible that she put herself at risk trying to make me a little more comfortable. She didn't seem to want to talk about what happened any more than that, and so we didn't. We changed the subject to more lighthearted things. Our jobs, the cities where we live, how my dad is adapting to a new country, etc. When she arrived at work and had to end the phone call, she asked if I wanted to continue talking through a messaging app. Obviously I said yes, and downloaded it immediately. We sent messages throughout the day, and she even interrupted her commute home to send me a picture of a restaurant modeled after one of my favorite books, just because she thought I would like it. She told me that she thought of me every time she saw it, but unfortunately the restaurant itself was not so good. I was afraid she wouldn't remember me, but she even remembers the things I like to read. She remembers a lot of little things, even stuff I forgot. We have been sending messages back and forth ever since, and talking on the phone after I finish work at night, until she gets too sleepy. Sometimes it feels like I'm 24 and she's texting me from a few blocks away, as if the next thing she might ask is what's for dinner. Other times it seems like we're trying to will dead versions of ourselves back to life in order to avoid acknowledging what we've lost. She seems a lot more timid than she used to, more passive, which I suppose makes sense. Sometimes I worry about how much I've changed, and that maybe she won't find anything left in me that's worthy of her. But if I could express in words what it feels like to hear her laugh, I could explain that there's also a lot that we know very well. She hasn't lost her kindness, or her warmth, or her empathy. She still cares about me, and I still care about her. I know that rebuilding a friendship after all that's happened will take lots of patience, and I have plenty to spare. I'm just happy to have the chance to get to know her again. This morning, Daria asked if I want to have a video call sometime this weekend. I agreed, but I'm ashamed to admit that as much as I want to see her, I'm very nervous. I look so different than she would remember. My jaw is messed up and I have the teeth of a hockey player. Fortunately, I will qualify for healthcare insurance soon and be able to have it fixed. I lost weight that I haven't put back on, and I see an old man in the mirror. I'm also worried that I will get very emotional when I see her, and embarrass myself that way. I don't really cry in front of people. I'm not used to it, and this doesn't seem like a good occasion to start. Aside from not wanting to appear pitiful, I don't want her to feel forced to comfort me. If anyone has some advice on how to handle this, it would be much appreciated. Overall, this week could not have gone better, and I'm extremely grateful to everyone who gave me the little push of courage I needed to send her that message. 1,000 times, thank you. TLDR. I sent a message to my former partner. She was thrilled to receive it and we have been happily getting to know each other once again. Edit. Just to clarify, she doesn't have a husband or kids. As I said in my first post, I only considered contacting her because there was no evidence of a partner on her social media. But I understand that my first post wasn't visible for a while, so I can see why that may not have been obvious. Sorry for the confusion. Update 2. I've had a lot of people ask for an update, so here it is. The last 2 months have gone by very fast. I told Daria that I was nervous about the video call, and she insisted on having it right away so that I could get it over with and stop worrying. Seeing her made everything feel real in a way it hadn't before. She still looks like herself, or even more beautiful, different only in the sense that she is fully an adult now. The place she lives is very different from our home country, with a distinct culture to which she has assimilated. That she had time to adapt and feel completely at home in this place broke the illusion that no time had passed. In hindsight, that was probably the real reason I had been so nervous, because I could no longer occasionally forget myself and pretend that nothing had changed. The hardest part was not being able to reach through the screen and put my arms around her. Sitting there and watching someone you love cry, from a distance, is not easy. I barely noticed that I was crying too. She didn't seem surprised at my appearance, but she did eventually look me over and ask if the food was shit where I lived. I explained about my jaw, and that I'm getting it fixed. Less dental work is required than I thought, but I need a surgery. Her response was to ask for my address and order groceries to be delivered, including a lot of soft snacks that are easy to eat and these meal substitution drinks that are actually tasty. She sent them every week since, even though I tell her it's not necessary. When I wanted to pay her back, she laughed at me and said she owed me a lot of food, because I had kept her from starving to death in university. I loved being able to cook for her, and I suppose it makes her just as happy to feed me now. We talk every day, and have made video calls a regular habit. It does me so much good just to see her face, and the awkwardness is mostly gone now. It's easy to talk to her. Last night, she brought her computer into the kitchen and talked to me while doing the washing up. It's amazing how mundane things like that can make me feel normal, and at home, in ways I forgot I could. I never thought I'd be that stupidly happy to see someone washing coffee cups. I'm beginning to think that the idea of home as a physical place is a misconception. She likes to send photos, to show me where she lives, what her life is like now. She was curious about how things are the same or different here. I didn't want to admit that I don't have much of a life to share back. Going places just didn't seem worth the effort. She is though. At first it was very small things. She would send a picture of a pastry she'd bought at a cafe, saying that she thinks her city has better pastries than mine. I would go out and get one so I could send her a photo too. Then it was beer, which city has better parks, interesting architecture, a department store, and so on. I figured out quickly that she was trying to coax me into going out more, but I played along to make her happy. I've seen more of my city in the past month than the entire time I've lived here before. I've been to the art museum, and finally joined my colleagues for a beer. Usually, I go places for short durations at the less crowded times, but I'm still going, which is something. Daria used to be very sociable. So I thought that whatever happened, at least she wouldn't be lonely. I was wrong. There is a lot she could never tell her friends, because they can't relate. They would feel sorry for her and cease to be equals, she says. Our experiences are different, but we are more able to understand each other than other people could. And despite her own burden, she has quietly picked up half the weight from my shoulders without ever being asked to. I am in awe of her, simply for being the kind of person who would. For Women's Day I sent her some orchids, and she was very happy that I remembered her favorite flower. The things I can do to make her smile are so small, and she deserves so much more than I know how to give her. But I would do anything for this woman, and I'm learning. There are protests happening where she is, with riot police and tear gas. Whenever this happens, she feels nervous and has difficulty sleeping. Now, at least I can stay on the phone with her at night so she's not alone. Aside from the anxiety, there is also a sense of nostalgia. She talks about when that was us, making noise in the street. I'm glad she has good memories too and doesn't have to be alone with them anymore. Finally, the reason I'm updating now. She is coming to visit. We were talking last night and I mentioned that a church near me has special windows designed by an artist she loves, and I was thinking about going to see them eventually. She said it would be unfair of me to go without her, so I invited her to come with me. And then somehow it turned from vague future plans to being scheduled for next Saturday. She was going to come for the day, but I told her it was silly to travel so far to stay for such a short time, and suggested she stay the entire weekend. So she will be here from Friday until Sunday. I haven't really had time to be nervous yet, but I'm sure I will. Thank you again to everyone who has given advice or encouragement, it is very much appreciated. Now to the next story, Story 2. Mom calls me selfish over a phone gift incident from my teenage years. Am I the asshole or is she? Original post, I, 28F, was visiting my mom this weekend and I turned a video on while we crafted Smosh's new Reddit video. One of the first videos they cover is on the story of a mother losing her daughter's Louis Vuitton bag. We listened to it and I said it sounded similar to the phone incident when I was younger. My mom got really defensive, said that I was selfish as a teenager and I'm acting selfish now. We argued for a bit and she said, I wonder what Reddit would think of our story. So I decided to find out. For my 15th birthday, my grandpa sent me a new smartphone in the mail. I was incredibly excited about it and my mom was really upset. She said that it was inappropriate for me to have a more upgraded phone than she did, he sent me the newer version of the phone she had, and that there was no way she was going to let me have the phone. So, instead of transferring my SIM card to my new phone, she went and transferred hers to the new phone and mine to her phone. Her argument was that I still had a newer phone than my previous one, so I should be grateful. But given the new smartphone had been a gift, I was really upset and called my grandpa, her dad, to complain. He then called her and chewed her out for it, which made her yell at me for involving him. She said again there was no reason for me to have such an upgraded phone when I only used it to talk to my friends and she used her phone for work. Our argument went on for over a week before I just dropped it, but I was bitter for a long time. She continued to bring up how unbelievably selfish I had acted and that she was disappointed to have raised such a selfish daughter. Every once in a while, especially at family gatherings, this story will be brought up by someone and the argument starts all over. My brother, 17 at the time, and my dad stayed neutral on it, and my grandpa was pissed but lived in another country and couldn't do much but call my mom like he did. That's the story. My mom called me selfish again when I brought it up and said that my continued bitterness towards this event just goes to show how ungrateful and entitled that I am. No matter how many times I tell her that what she did was pretty messed up. So who is the AH? Edit. The intention was always to show the verdict of this post to my mom, since it was her idea to see what Reddit would think. I texted her and asked her if there was anything she'd like to add before I forwarded the post to her and just got this back. As I have said, it was not appropriate for a girl of your age to have a more capable smartphone if you weren't going to use it for anything other than texting your friends. Your grandpa did not ask me before sending the phone to you. I told you that you could not have the phone and you continued to ask for it, so I gave you my old one as a compromise, which was a newer and nicer phone than the one you had, and you still continued to ask for the newer one even after I said no. I maintain that your behavior was that of a selfish teenager, and I think any moms on Reddit will agree with me. Hopefully your post puts an end to this argument. I will add that she said this weekend, this was before Instagram. What would you have used the phone for? The new phone in question was a Samsung Galaxy 2. My mom had the Samsung Galaxy 1 and I had a Nokia slider phone before my grandpa sent me the new one. Edit 2. I am going to take screenshots of this post and send them to my mom after work. We'll try to update when I can. I don't expect she'll be happy, but I agree with her that hopefully we can stop bringing this up. ATA has no consensus bot. OOP was voted NTA relevant comments. Commenter 1, your mom told you to take this to Reddit. She needs to browse more. People here generally don't like bullies. OOP, she likes it when I put on the Reddit videos when we hang out, but has otherwise never explored Reddit. But even in that video, the Smosh people absolutely called that mother the AH and my mom was like, well, our thing is completely different. Commenter 2. So gift stealing mother thinks you are selfish. Okay, did she do this with other gifts? Like take money from a gift for you? OOP. This is the only time in my life she has ever done something this extreme, which is why I think it gets brought up to this day, because it was such a wild situation for us and sticks out. OOP on getting the phone at the time. OOP. Valid concern, but the phone was genuinely a complete surprise from my grandpa. I had not asked for a new phone from my parents or my grandparents. Commenter 3. You are NTA, but your mom certainly is. It takes a hell of a lot of nerve to steal your child's gift because you want it and then claim that the child is selfish. Your mother's take is strictly self-serving, so she doesn't have to admit that she's wrong for stealing from her own child. Update. Posting an update here instead of ATA so I can just add screenshots. It is unfortunately not much of an update. I sent my mom about a dozen screenshots from the, then, 100 or so comments on the post right when I got off work. She didn't acknowledge or respond to them for a while, kept trying to talk about other things, and I had to keep pressing her to read the comments. I did most of the heavy lifting. She kept trying to change the subject and I had to keep redirecting. I tried to call her a few times after she said she read the comments and she would not answer, even though I think talking over text made this infinitely more frustrating. I don't feel like we came to any conclusion other than to never bring it up again. The final screenshot is from my brother, Jay. Thanks to everyone for giving me better language to talk about this situation and sharing similar experiences. I think it is just something my family has never been able to get over, as stupid as it is. My grandpa passed away 3 years ago, so unfortunately we cannot get his opinion. Transcripts of the text messages between OOP and her mom. Mom, yes, I read the comments you sent me, Mom. Obviously it isn't great to see random Reddit people talking about me on the internet. OP, I know, OOP, like I'm not even upset about the actual phone anymore. I feel like you keep mentioning the phone specifically. It's now more that after all these years you won't acknowledge even a little that what you did was hurtful to me as a teenager and that people like Jay keep bringing it up because it was hurtful. I'm really sick of being called selfish for years because of this one thing, and you keep bringing it up seemingly just to tell people you think I'm selfish. Sorry to say, but I think most of the family agree with the Reddit comments. Mom, yes, okay. I do understand it's not about the phone, Viv, but when a mother says no, she expects that to be the final word. When you have kids you will understand. From my point of view, everyone is questioning my parental decisions. Does not feel good being called an a-hole for saying no to my kid. Why do cousins need to have an opinion about what happened, let alone strangers? Maybe selfish was the wrong word to use for your behavior. That's fine. OOP. I'm not even sure what to say to that. OOP. You say you understand it's not actually about the phone, but like, do you understand that how you went about this was hurtful and that you've continued to be hurtful about it for years? OP. There are literally comments talking about gaslighting me about this. OOP. Did you show Dad, Mom? Yes. OP. And? Mom. Dad says we need to both get over it. I would like to, but for some reason it keeps being brought up. OP. I would also love to get over it, but you are one of the ones who keep bringing it up. OP. Again, it feels like you keep retelling the story just to tell a story about me being selfish and for no other reason. Mom. Jay brings it up too. OOP. Jay brings it up to emphasize your behavior sometimes. IDKOOP. I think the rest of the family want it to be a funny story and it isn't for us. OOP. I am happy to never bring it up again. OOP. I'm sick of talking about it. OP. But that means you can't bring it up again either. OOP. If you do, I'll show people the Reddit post. LOL. Mom, that's fine. Mom, going to bed now. Love you. OP, night. Please call me tomorrow. Conversation between OOP and her brother, JJ. FFS's phone gate finally over. OOP. LOL, maybe she said you have to stop talking about it. J. OK _hand. IDGF. Top comments. Commenter 1. I commented on your original post, but in my mind I had predicted that this was going to be a reaction. This is such a frustrating response, but just accept it and roll with it. Some people will just never admit that they are wrong. That takes a lot of grace, and I'm sorry. A person who can't help but berate her own daughter is incapable of having such grace. So why keep that expectation? I mean, if the verdict would have been that you indeed were the asshole, she would have rubbed it in your face, but since she has been named the asshole, she wants to move on with life and forgive and forget. This was behavior that I think we all predicted. Maybe she should have thought twice before suggesting you put the story on Reddit. LOL. Can't complain about strangers commenting on your bad parenting when it was your idea to open it up to discussion in the first place. You have just given a second example of her hypocrisy. Sorry if that's hurtful. She's your mother, but as an internet stranger, who saw your story that was approved by your mother to be posted and is hence proof that none of the details are fabricated or untrue, that story truly did not paint a respectable picture of your mother in my head. All I see is a selfish, manipulative parent who continues to be so in the screenshots you have shared. Anyway, what can you do? Take care and hopefully y'all will be okay. Commenter 2. Your mom is just being so frustrating and upsetting. WTF. She can avoid and deny to face the reality all she wants, but at least next time if she brings it up again, you can just show the post to shut her mouth. Even reading this already makes me so furious. I guess it's because I also have a mom who's super entitled. I'm sorry you're going through this, but I hope she'll STF you from now on.
Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and hit the notification bell to stay updated with more shocking real-life stories happening around you.